All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. So, what I'm sharing with you today is something very personal to me, very near and dear to my heart. This is the shift. Most of you that might be watching these videos, as I'm going to adjust the angle here, most of you that might be watching these videos know me as like a twin flame mentor. And so while that is true, I'm also shifting my content to incorporate more of what I actually set out this channel to be, which is life after union. And so to me, life after union is how do we navigate this life, not only after your twin flame union, right? Like after you might be in this relationship, but more so about your inner union, your inner harmony. And the thing that I want to make perfectly clear is life after union does not mean that it's a static state. It doesn't mean that you remain in inner balance and inner harmony forever now. It means that we're continue to grow and evolve in that inner union, right? We continue to have challenges to overcome. We continue to have triumphs where we have successes and we have beautiful blossomings of our inner self and our soul coming to the surface. And with that is all aspects of life. Again, it's twin flame is not like a relationship journey. Twin flame, it is a relating journey. How you personally relate to the world, relate to other people, relate to your twin flame, relate to yourself. So while it's not a relationship journey, it's a relating journey. How you relate to you and all aspects of you that you see out in the world. Now, that being said, I want to share because this is something that's been coming up for me very strongly recently and something that I think is very important to speak on when it comes to the woman's perspective, okay? So, today we are talking about the 2-week wait, this time between, I was going to say conception, this time between ovulation and menstruation, okay? This is what in modern trying to conceive culture we call the 2-week wait. And while you might be watching this and maybe you're not even trying to conceive, that's okay. This video is a spiritual perspective on this time in a woman's cycle. So whether you are trying to conceive or whether you are not trying to conceive and you're just trying to understand your body better, this is going to give you such a profound and deep insight on this time that it's really beautiful for both aspects. Okay, so what I've been experiencing, because I'm in right now, and this is why I needed to make this video right now, because I'm in my own 2-week wait, where I've been sexually active. I have not had full protection around this sexual activity. I have had a baby before, so I know that I'm most likely fertile, and it could happen, right? We're in that space, and that's the exact point of this video. This is a time, this is why women are so connected to the divine. And I want to make a disclaimer before we dive into this. This is the last intro thing I'll do, I promise. But the disclaimer I want to make when we're talking about this is what I'm saying about women does not negate that about men. A lot of times we get into this space where like women are so connected to the divine. That means men aren't. But that's not what I mean by saying this, okay? We all have our divine connections. We all have our divine roles. And what I'm speaking purely on is my own interpretation as a woman. So that is not meant to take away anything from being a man or what that role constitutes energetically, spiritually, emotionally, anything like that, okay? So I just want to make that perfectly clear before we dive in. But women have a cycle, right? Where in these 2 weeks, we dive deeply into the unknown. Okay, so let's look at it from both a scientific perspective and a spiritual perspective. So from a scientific level, let's say you have ovulation and let's say the sperm is coming, right? Your body is in a state of receptivity, okay? It's in a state of like, okay, I'm at the grocery store, what am I going to choose, right? What things am I going to put in my basket? And so the beautiful thing about this time is we as the feminine are so connected to the divine. Every single month, we have this period of entering the void. And the void is this time, in my perception, is this time between ovulation and menstruation, because we don't know what direction our lives are going. And I actually saw this video, which I thought was super interesting. It's a bit windy here, so if you hear some background noise, it's the wind. But I was watching this video and it was talking about progesterone, and the hormone progesterone when a woman is pregnant actually blocks her psychically from being able to see inside the womb. And this is why when women are pregnant, they have such anxiety around, is the baby okay? Is everything okay in there? What's going on in there? And we have these anxious feelings because we actually intuitively cannot reach into there, because that is the divine. That is our portal to the divine. There are otherworldly things happening within our bodies at that time that we actually cannot be privy to that information. Even our own body, there are mysteries. And think about this, you guys. We are so divine, every person on this earth, so divine that we can actually not know the intricacies of what's happening in our own body. How absolutely wild is that? So this time, in the 2-week wait, when we don't know, is my life going in this direction or is my life going in this direction? We are forced as women, and not always painlessly, we are forced as women to enter the void, to enter the space of it could be this, it could be that. And now I want to talk a little bit about how to navigate this and how I've navigated this. Because it can be a really, especially if you are trying to conceive, it can be a really anxious producing time. And I know when we were first trying to conceive with Claire, I had a lot of attachments, and we actually had a miscarriage before she came that caused me to realize a lot of the egoic attachments that I had around conception, around having a baby. And it wasn't until I lost one that I realized so many things that I was holding on to. And so on a very practical level, this time between ovulation and menstruation is a time of sitting in this void, of allowing these thoughts to come forward. Because when you are trying to conceive, you're really in your mind a lot about, am I feeling this? Am I feeling this? Are my boobs sore? Do I feel a twinge of pain in my ovary? Like, what's going on? What's going on? Because we have an attachment to the outcome, okay? And so when we have an attachment to the outcome, we're not actually sitting as deeply in our power as we could be. Now, don't cancel me. This is not to say you shouldn't be attached to the outcome, okay? It's very natural to want what you want. And if what you want is a baby, or what you want is to not get pregnant, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting somebody. The perspective I'm coming from here is the spiritual perspective of how to make this time as easy and loving towards yourself as possible, okay? So if you're already on a spiritual path, you'll probably resonate with what I'm saying here. If this is kind of new information maybe to you, then it's likely maybe some of what I'm saying might be a bit triggering, but it's not meant to be triggering. It's more so just meant to be compassionate and open you up to a different way of perceiving this time. But that being said, what comes up for a lot of us are we think we're listening to our bodies, but we're really projecting on our bodies from a mental and egoic place, right? And this is why we can't see into the womb, right? Because there's a divine mystery that's happening in there that we cannot physically, consciously participate in, right? Like, you don't have to try to grow a baby. You're not sitting there like, digging in the earth and watering it and doing it like you would plants, right? Your body is doing it intuitively and naturally. You're just taking care of your body, and your body is growing it. That's a divine mystery. How the frick does that happen? That we can grow a baby? This is like the I didn't know I was pregnant show. You can literally grow a baby and not know it. That's how much of a divine mystery it is. We will never, as in this human lifetime, okay, this is going to be like a truth bomb. We will never in this human lifetime have the full conceptual idea around why a soul decides to come when it decides. We might have our own like spiritual interpretations, like, oh, I could see how my life would be better in this way because the baby came then, or this baby helped me XYZ when I needed this. That's all good and fine to make our own personal assumptions around why the soul came into the world at this time. But again, it still always stems from a very egoic place, right? We lose the perception that we are literally such a little drop in the cosmic bucket. Like we are such a blink of an eye. And when a soul decides to come into the world, there is so much more at play than we can even conceptualize. So part of this process and making this process as easy as possible on yourself is surrendering to that divine mystery at 11:11 on my clock. Surrendering to that divine mystery and surrendering to the fact that I don't know what is going to happen. And this can be really scary, especially if you want a certain outcome. But when you lean into, I don't know what's going to happen, you may notice a lot of emotions arise, right? A lot of fear, right? Around maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this will ruin my life. Maybe I'm not capable of handling this. All these different beliefs come in because it's meant to alert you to your limiting beliefs, right? A woman's journey is a spiritual path. It is an awakening journey. And so these cycles come in. It's helping to awaken us to new levels of consciousness within ourselves. So when we're in this 2-week wait time period, we have to be in that void. We have to release our attachment and speak to your womb. Say, I am ready for you when you are ready to come, whether it is this cycle, next cycle, 10 cycles from now. So releasing the attachment to the outcome and allowing yourself to truly sit in that void where it could be this, it could be that, or it could be any of the infinite possibilities in between. Our egoic mind likes to think of things like it'll be this or it'll be that. I'll focus on my career or I'll grow a baby. When in reality, things are not so black and white. We usually are choosing like from a spectrum of these options, right? And so we have to get outside of the mind and tune deeper into the whispers of what the body is actually telling us. And when we're so in the mind worrying about, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? Is it like this? Am I feeling this? Is this going on? And we're thinking about it, we actually miss what the signals are coming from the body, which is so funny. It's so ironic, right? It's like we're trying to listen to the body so hard that we're actually projecting on it rather than listening to it. And what I have found for myself, that the best thing I've been able to do is just be able to sit in that unknown and say, okay, body, I trust you. I will love you no matter the outcome. That is so powerful. I was doing this the other night. I was laying face down on my belly and I just had my hands on my womb. And I was like, I will love you no matter the outcome. Whether it is now, whether it is not now, whether I think I'm ready or whether I think I'm not ready. I will love you no matter what. And that in and of itself released so much resistance to the equation, right? James and I had to move through this incredibly painful miscarriage situation. And it was so short. It was such a blip on our screen of our relationship because it was such a short amount of time. I literally found out I was pregnant one day and then the next day it was gone. So it wasn't like it was far into the pregnancy or anything like that. But already my mind had created an entire life. How were we going to tell our family? What were we going to do? All of these things. I had this little buddy with me now. And I had to go, both of us had to go through such a grieving process in our miscarriage that it reminded me how attached I was to the outcome and that I didn't believe it would come to me in the right time, right? I believed it had to be now, it had to be this time. And I wasn't willing to sit back in the unknown and know that this little spirit that wants to come into the world has its own ideas, has its own path, its own trajectory, right? And the same is true for the little spirit that came in so briefly to show us all of this, right? It came in so briefly and was like, hello, and then bye, just to show you all of these beautiful things. And I cannot wait to get on the other side and say, thank you. Thank you so much for showing up for a day so that I could awaken deeper to truths within myself that I wasn't willing to look at. So this 2-week wait is such a powerful time in a woman's cycle. I hope it isn't understated. I hope I've done a good job covering it in this video, because it's such a mysterious and magical time within our cycles that I feel like it oftentimes is overshadowed by, like, you know, the menstrual phase is talked about a lot and ovulation is talked about a lot, but this is a time where we are truly in the void of possibility, right? This is a time of true possibility. What will I create? And know that if you are in the sorrow of the 2-week wait where you do move on to menstruation and that's not what you were hoping for, right? You had your heart set on being pregnant this month. Know that I've also experienced that pain. And that pain wasn't because of the loss of the soul that I wanted. It was actually because of my attachment to how I needed things to play out, how I wanted things to be. And when I realized that they would be that way for me when it's my time, I was able to honor my body and say, hey, my womb is creating all the time. My womb is creating constantly. That's why we have these cycles. My womb is always creating. And whether it's creating for my purpose, my work, whether it's creating for my family, whether it's creating for myself and my self-expression, my womb is always creative. And it doesn't have to be creative in this one way in order for it to be valuable. My womb is valuable in and of itself. Whatever it decides to create this month is valuable. And so I think that perspective alone can help us through a lot of this heartbreak that comes with moving on into the menstrual phase if you are trying to conceive. Let me know if you found this video helpful. I would be interested to know your thoughts on this 2-week wait video and what has come up for you during this time. I want to thank you so much for being here in this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time. Big love. Serena.